Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal.
and you're watching Eating W's.
Eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Super Bowl 57 reaction video. But before we jump into the big game, just one quick bit of news. The Las Vegas Raiders have officially released quarterback Derek Carr. Now, a lot of people knew it was going to happen with the way it ended and him not playing the last few weeks, but it is now official. It has truly happened, and Carr can start pursuing other teams, or other teams can start pursuing Carr, depending on who's more desperate in the situation. I guess it depends. Lots of teams looking for quarterbacks right now, but there is also lots of quarterbacks floating around, so we'll have to see where those all end up.
Yeah, and one thing about this is he actually gets the jump on free agency because he's available to sign at any point, since he was released from his contract and his contract didn't expire.
Oh, interesting.
So he's actually able to sign tomorrow or tonight if he wanted to.
Oh.
I haven't heard of any connections yet, but he is available to sign. He doesn't have to wait for the new league year to start.
I didn't know that. That does make it a little more interesting. So now we will jump into the big game in which the Kansas City Chiefs faced off against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Chiefs won by a score of 38-35 after a over double-digit comeback in the second half. This game was far and away the most entertaining Super Bowl we have had in a couple of years now. It seems for the past, 5-6 years, I can't remember all of them exactly, but it just seems like as a whole, they've all been one of two things. Super low scoring and defensive, or just very handily handled by one team or the other. Just complete blowouts, to say the least. So it was super nice to finally see one that actually had some offense, had some scoring, had some defensive scoring even, and still had a nice, close nail-biter of an ending. Lots of players really showed up in this game. Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts both had very good games in two different ways. Patrick Mahomes had only 184 yards, which is low, especially for his standards, but he also put up 3 passing touchdowns, and Jalen Hurts was on the other end. He put up over 300 yards, 304 to be exact, but only had 1 passing touchdown. But he did also have 3 rushing touchdowns to go with that, which is a Super Bowl record. So he had 4 total touchdowns for himself.
Yeah, and he probably would have been MVP had the Chiefs not been able to pull it out. And one key thing here that I want to point out is that the Chiefs' offensive line really came to play in the Super Bowl, allowing 0 sacks, not even including the fact that Mahomes was pressured very few times. He and Mahomes was able to scramble around a little bit and gain some yards rushing too. So they almost had a 100-yard rusher. I don't believe they didn't quite have a 100-yard rusher, but they went over 100 yards rushing total as a team. So I think that was the key thing here to point out, is that everyone said that the Eagles' offensive line was one of the best they had ever seen, and even though they allowed 2 sacks, they just didn't play the better game. The Chiefs' offensive line did.
Yeah, during our prediction episode, I said it a bunch that this game's going to be won in the trenches, and whoever can win in the trenches would probably win the game. And as Callan mentioned, the Chiefs won the game because they won in the trenches.
Yep.
I really thought it would be the Eagles, because both of the offensive and defensive line for each of these teams were uber talented. There was no arguing that. But I really did think the Eagles had the better overall trenches unit. But the Chiefs really showed up to play and proved everyone wrong. One thing I really liked about this game is the ball was spread around everywhere. Everyone was getting touches. Everyone was getting involved. There was 0 100-yard rushers and only 1 100-yard receiver, who was Devontae Smith, who had exactly 100 yards off of just 7 catches. So you really like to see it when everyone's getting to touch the ball. Everyone's getting to live up in this big moment and get to do what they want to do. Now that we kind of talked about the stats, we got to talk about the elephant in the room in that ending. And to be honest, the reffing overall was very questionable in some spots, but none spot bigger than towards the end on a 3rd and 8 for the Kansas City Chiefs in the red zone, looking to score, when the refs gave a holding call to James Bradberry, the Eagles corner. which is very questionable on whether it was a
was.
call. To be honest, if I have to say it myself, if I'm that ref there and I have to make the call, I'm not throwing that flag. Who knows what they'll actually do in the situation, but there was just no actual impediment of momentum on Juju Smith-Schuster, who was the receiver who got held. There was no real grab of the jersey. He did get his arm around him, which in a way I guess is technically holding. But if you're going to call a holding call on 3rd and 8 with 2 minutes left in the Super Bowl, it better be a holding call, not just some wishy-washy stuff. That's where I stand on it.
The only thing is they've been letting them play all game, and then they wait till the most pivotal moment to decide to not let them play. I mean, if you look at the rule book, it is a foul. He did hook him and
he got around.
He slingshotted himself kind of to, keep himself up with Juju Smith-Schuster. Otherwise, Juju's wide open in the back of the end zone. And now maybe Mahomes overthrew him, maybe not. That's, another one of those what ifs. Who knows what would have happened? Who knows if he would have caught it either? There's sometimes those are the hardest catches, the wide open ones. So.
Yeah, that's as Callan kind of touched on, that's my big thing with it. Isn't the fact that they called the penalty at all. If they call that penalty halfway through the second quarter, it's like, that was a little wishy-washy, but whatever. But when you make a questionable call like that in the Super Bowl with 2 minutes left, and that's the difference between the Chiefs running the clock out and kicking a game-winning field goal instead of going up by 3 and giving the ball back to the Eagles with almost 2 minutes and 3 timeouts, you just got to make better decisions there. Well, not better decisions. You just got to be more aware of the stakes.
Better judgment calls.
Exactly. So unless you have anything else to say, that's all I can really think of. It was a hell of a game. It
was at least a very exciting game from start to finish.
Yeah, it was. There was
no low moments that,
Exactly. It was exciting all the way through. Each quarter had a score by each team. You just love to see stuff like that. And I hope that Super Bowls will continue this pace for the years to come and not kind of slip back in how they used to be into blowouts and defensive battles. Which a good defensive battle isn't bad every once in a while, but you hate to see it in the biggest game of the year.
Like a nice 13-6 game from a Super Bowl.
Exactly. That's what you don't want. If you want a good 13-6 game, go watch college football. Watch some Big Ten football.
Yeah, there you go.
That's where the 13-6 games lie. So now that we are past the game, I of course have to mention that with this correct pick, Callan won the season on our head-to-head pick'em. He was down by 1 point. The Super Bowl was worth 5. He got it right. I got it wrong. He wins by a score of, I believe it is 199 to 195, but I'll have to check that quick.
I'm pretty sure that was what it was last.
Congratulations to him. Yep,
Thank
correct. Callan wins by a score of 199 with 195. I won the regular season, but Callan was able to come back, turn it around, and win it in the postseason. And winning in the postseason is all that matters.
That's all that matters. Just got to get into the dance.
Exactly. So that is it for another amazing season of Eating W's. Thank you all so much for your support and the continual viewing of our videos. We really appreciate it. Over the next at least week, if not 2 weeks, we'll probably take a hiatus. We've been going strong every week, 2 videos a week for months on end now. So we're just going to take a little break, calm down a little bit. There's not going to be much news anyway. But then after 2 weeks, we are going to be back at it with draft prep and free agency prep. And then there's going to be the start of the new league year, and free agents are actually going to start getting signed. So we will, of course, have all the news and reactions there. So make sure you stay tuned into Eating W's, because we will be taking a break, but then we will be back at it like we never left. Thank you all so much for watching this video. And until next time, don't forget
to eat the W.